Today for the Bitcoin price, a huge move is coming. Okay, I'm just kidding. Let's talk about the Bitcoin action today. Let's get into it. All right, boys and girls, it is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro, back at it again. And today we're going to break down the action on Bitcoin. Is this a breakout or is this a fake out? Here we are sitting at 106.66 and 22 cents. I thought September was supposed to be the down month, the correction month. Well, let's take a closer look at the technicals and see if we can make some sense out of this. Get rid of me. All right. Now, we're on the 4-hour chart, and as you can see, I have a new fib circle set that is on my trading view chart, and it ends on this date range. It covers this swing channel here, ending at the low point or beginning of the next movement, the next swing in direction on September 7th of 2020. What I noticed the other night, and I predicted this on my Telegram. You probably saw it. If you didn't, you should come and check out some of the predictions that I make that are based on these magical fib circle rings. These fib sets are amazing and they really work. And the reason is they are based on human behavior, wave activity. It's all Mother Nature. And that's why we see so many times that pivot points will happen, like here where we hit this 1.0 ring and jump up, and then we move through it. First it was a support and then we plowed right through it. We bounced around, we took a pivot move on this green ring. We ran over here and stuck to the 2.618 red ring. We clung to this ring, which they will do sometimes, and then it bailed out off. And then we had a somewhat of a drop here, and now we crawled up with this big little head fake, or the beginning of a big pump, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so I also have indicated on here a blue line. There's a blue line, and I'll talk about what this means next. But first of all, we'll notice that there are a couple of things that kind of stick out here. First is the volume profile for this range that I have just for the swing down. We notice that the point of control is up here at 11,741. So price could rip back up to this former point of control, or to the point of control, and hit this former price. And as you see, there's a gap right here, and there's a smaller gap right here. And what usually tends to happen in price movement, whenever we trade in these areas where there's a gap, the price tends to slip really quick up or down, and that's where you see the slides. Case in point, let's just look at this right here. Okay, here's our gap. Notice where this slide hit. Is that not interesting to you? Here it is. There it is right there, right in front of our eyes. And then the next gap, which is right here, that's not as big, that ends somewhere in this range. It kind of matches this area here. So we see that this is very common in stocks and in cryptos when we are looking at the volume profile, which is now my favorite indicator. All right, let's clear that out. Thing number one, stochastic. What is the stochastic doing? Well, it looks like we had a rise, we had a very nice dip, and this dip did not bring us too much of a drawdown on price. In fact, with the price line, we've had an overall uptrend. Let's make that in green, an overall uptrend since this bottom on the micro. And so whenever you have stochastic dipping and then price doesn't really dip and maintains the overall velocity, the direction that it is going, we can kind of call that a divergence, even though this is not a clear divergence because we did have this dip in price that I predicted the other night. Well, the next thing we notice is that the stochastic could be peaked out right now. We are definitely in the oversold zone. So here we are, oversold. Let's just indicate that right there. But the blue line, the fast line, is still on top of the slow line. Whenever this crosses over that slow line, we're going to get a change in direction up here. But notice that the direction has changed already. Why do we have two small red candles right here, but the stochastic has not crossed over and started to change direction to head back into the neutral zone? That's interesting. This could be an indication of a head fake. So we have one bit of evidence that supports a run up because we had an increase on price and a decrease on stochastic, but we maintain this overall upsloping line. But then the one vote for the head fake is right here where stochastic is bullish and we're in the oversold zone. We haven't crossed the fast line over the slow line yet. We have two red ticks. Okay, there's something else that I want to show you here that's kind of like right down in, this is backwards, in this area. I did a little looking at the OBV, which is an approximation of the accumulation over time or distribution over time of a stock, commodity, a cryptocurrency, whatever. And as the line goes up, what it's trying to tell us is that there supposedly is more institutional buying going on. Or in other words, people are loading their bags. When it's going down, it says that there are some people that are selling. And so one of the things we've heard on the street is that some of the selling going on recently is because of the miners taking profits. So this area where we're sloping down could be miners taking profits. And when it slopes up, it could be that there's more institutional buying than the miners selling and taking profits. All right, so that being said, and I hate that phrase with a passion, let's get rid of me now. Let's take note, special note of some things that are happening with this OBV. So we have this downtrend, and then we had like your little uptick here, and then we go back and we had another little downtrend, and then we have an almost identical uptrend, and then we bounced off the top of this line that connects the peaks, and I'm thinking this is going to be a reversal. So what I am wondering is if this will match, because notice how we have followed this overall trend, and the stochastic, as we're peaking, matches the on-balance volume going up. We hit a peak point and then we dumped, and then the on-balance volume shows that there was a decrease while the stochastic was doing the opposite and it was moving up. That was a divergence, which supports theory number one that Bitcoin is about to break out. However, now that we have bumped our head right here for the 1, 2, 3, the third time on this line, it looks like it is a pretty significant resistance. So what's going to happen next? Well, let's just extrapolate. What if we have the same measured movement that happened here, yet it happens down here? There's one thing that I know that is going on, and that is, if we were to take the same measured movement at the bottom of this movement, if we were to project a line moving up, it would kind of maybe put us in a general area of where the price could cross this critical fib circle boundary right here, which would be the 2.618. This is the 1.618. I think I called it 2.618 before. I'm sorry about that. Now I can tell you why I have this blue line here. This blue line is representative of a possible decline in price. If this red candle, whoops, look at that, it just turned green. We're gonna have to watch this. And this is why this is just a shot in the dark. Don't take my advice. This is my approximation. It is my fun way of analyzing it, and it's my wild guess. It's a swag, a scientific wild blank guess, okay? So my swag is that we're going to move in a general direction downward, bouncing around this blue line until we get to this area where this measured move would bring us up to the point that we cross this fib circle boundary. And I think there's going to be a crossing there. If this happens, well, guess what else that we see here? There's another interesting factoid. Let's get the line, actually. Let's undo that. Where this crosses, it would kind of happen right in this area where the CME gap that we don't know if it's going to be filled or not. It's right in the same area of the CME gap. Why did I do that in 3 different colors? I don't know. But anyway, there's no coincidence here. This is a high possibility that we follow this blue line and that it crosses this fib circle boundary based on the last swing channel, and that we also pick up and fill the CME gap. So that's kind of my swag. That's my wild guess as to what we're seeing here. I don't think this is a pump. I don't think we're about to shoot to the moon. Not just yet. Not until this thing plays out, because we have not yet once in history left a CME gap down at the bottom unfilled. And also, now we must realize the fact that there's nothing scientific about filling a CME gap as far as statistics and numbers. It is the science of the human nature, because we can't see that gap without thinking that there is a need for trading to happen, that we're going to wait until this area gets some trading activity before we go all in and push this thing to the next level in a bull market. So it's human nature. That's exactly why fib circles work. Okay, so let's clear this and just look at the 1 day chart and see how it looks from here from a bird's eye view. All right, let's crunch this down. Now when we look at trading ever since the last major big fat dive, let's just get that out of the way. Let's just take it from here, from the side banding, and see what we can tell. So we have a current price of, where is that current price? There it is, 1,676, 10,676. But notice where the point of control is on the chart now, when I include all of this side banding that happened before the recent pump. Look where it is. Here's this big chunk of volume. And if we kind of zoom in from within zooming in, it's right there where that CME gap is needing to be filled. Now there's no gap on the real trading chart because this got traded. The CME gap is from the Chicago futures deal, Chicago Mercantile or whatever it's called, the trading of Bitcoin futures. So they experienced a gap that usually happens over a weekend, because futures don't trade over the weekend, that needs to be filled. So don't get that confused with thinking that there's a volume gap on the actual trading Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin. Buy you some Bitcoin. It's a very, very good investment opportunity. Something else that I'm noticing here on the 1 day chart, the stochastic just barely touched down into the oversold zone there, but it didn't hang out too long. So since it really didn't take a nice deep dive, of course, it looks like it's pointing upward now, but we could dip down in here and get a nice solid movement into the oversold zone before the next, oops, I didn't mean to do that, before the next big movement comes up out of there. All right, however, the on balance volume is looking good, where here just of recent, we're headed in the positive direction. So with the month of September, I don't know, for the next couple of weeks, we just might see some trading downward, which ain't that big of a deal. It's nothing to really be afraid about. So if we do dip into this oversold zone, it's just setting up for the next big pump. And it really doesn't matter how far we go down. We could fill that CME gap at 9,600, or we could dip down to lower levels. Here's a small volume chunk right here, somewhere around 8,300. That's not one. I need to change the width of the circle there. Okay, this chunk here is somewhere in the 8,000 range. Okay, so we'll have to zoom in a little bit so we can notice where the next gap might be, because there's people that were saying that we could go down to 7,000. Well, technically, it is possible. Look at the volume profile. Do you see this big chunk right here centered around 68.76? Like I was telling you before, volume gaps, you have these slides. So if Bitcoin holds in this area and doesn't go much below like 9,200, we're good. But if it gets down towards the 9,100 area, we might slip and then find this next support level, because these tend to become support levels, these previous volume chunks, and then price might bounce up from that. So it is possible, according to this indicator, as far as dipping down to the 7,000 level. Okay, so that's all I've got. I just wanted to talk about what's happening today, and I want to hear what you think. Seriously, I want to learn from you. Tell me if you think this is a head fake, or is this the actual move that Bitcoin is going to make to scoot back up through this little weak area here and snap back up into the 12,000 range. Are we going to go 12,000 or are we going to correct? Cast your vote right now. Post it in the comments and let me know why you think it's going to move up, or why you think this is a head fake and that we will go down and fill that CME gap. That's all I've got for now. Stay tuned. I've got some more TA coming up on some of my favorite projects. Thanks for being here. This is Carlton Flowers. I am out.